What's up everyone, this is Drea here with another video, and this time I am giving you a head-to-head with the OnePlus 5T versus the HTC U11. Now these are two very popular phones that came out in 2017, and I have received a couple questions about which phone I prefer, so I figured I would go ahead and do a quick video for you and talk about the pros and cons of each one and which one overall I would prefer for myself. Okay, so without further ado, let's go ahead and start the video. Okay, so to start off, I'm going to talk about the design of these two phones. Now, design-wise, you're going to see that both these devices are different in just about every single way. Flipping it over to the back, you can see that the OnePlus 5T is an all-metal design, whereas the HTC U11 goes for that glass back that is becoming more and more popular in phones from last year, and I'm pretty sure going into this year we'll be seeing these glass back phones even more. Now, going based just aesthetically, I would give the edge to the HTC U11. I just think this is a beautiful device, and it's one of the more unique looks that came out last year, whereas the 5T is a more traditional look, not really anything flashy about it. It's pretty bare. I do have the white model, which is, to me, a lot nicer than the black model that came out. But yeah, just going off of pure aesthetics, definitely the HTC U11 takes it on this one. That being said, both phones do feel great in the hand. They both use great materials, so they feel like premium devices, as they should, because they are. So, very nice on both of them. The OnePlus 5T, I do prefer how it feels in the hand, though. It is a thinner device. You could put them side by side, and if you could see there, the OnePlus 5T is thinner, and you could feel that when you're holding them both. I also like that the 5T takes on that slimmer design, so it's got the 18:9 aspect ratio, making the phone itself thinner, whereas the HTC U11 is using the 16:9 aspect ratio, so it's a little bit wider. So for that, I do give it to OnePlus 5T on how it feels, as well as the material. Now, big difference here, you know, there's some people who prefer glass back, some people who prefer all metal. My personal preference is the all metal, because it's more durable. Okay, glass is just a more fragile material, and if you drop it, it'll break. It doesn't matter what type of Gorilla Glass you can put on it, doesn't matter. If it falls, it'll break. So when I use my U11, first of all, I always have a case on it. No matter what I'm doing, I always have a case on it. And it's something I'm kind of paranoid about even. I'm always afraid that I'm going to drop this phone and it's going to shatter. Even doing videos like this make me nervous when I take the case off. I don't have such anxiety when I have the 5T. I still use a case on it because I always like to keep my phones in pristine condition. But point being, you go with an all-metal design, it's much more durable than if you go with glass. Okay, and both phones are lacking wireless charging. Okay, that's an important one, because the big argument for having a glass phone over a metal phone is that glass phones can have wireless charging. You can't have that feature if you're going to go with metal. So I think that's the biggest reason why phones have shifted over to the glass back. HTC, however, for reasons I don't know, decided not to include wireless charging. So it begs the question of why go with a glass back? Why make your phone more fragile if you're not even going to add the one benefit there is to having a glass phone? So as much as I love the look of this U11, I do wish they stuck with the all-metal design on their previous phones. And, you know, when the U12 eventually comes out this year, if they're going to stick with the glass design, I hope they at least put wireless charging on there, because at least then it would give it a reason for having it. So all in all, I do like the design of both phones. maybe slight edge to the 5T just for going with the all metal, and it feels slightly better in the hand. Okay, so going over to the display now. Both of these have really good displays. The HTC does have the upper hand because it is QHD, whereas the 5T is still rocking a 1080p display. Now, there is a caveat there. I'm only choosing the U11 because I literally have the two phones side by side and I'm comparing them both. And yes, the QHD screen, in my opinion, is sharper than what you get off of the 5T. Now, if I were using the 5T on my own, it's not like when I'm using the 5T, I'm thinking to myself, man, I wish this had a better display. Not at all. 1080p is perfectly fine for any kind of use, okay? Taking it out in the sunlight, using it, it's perfectly fine. And this whole idea that we need to have QHD, I don't think it's that important. And especially since it does save on battery life, you know, I am definitely willing to use a phone with a 1080p display. So I'm not exactly knocking the display of the 5T, but yes, I do prefer the display of the U11. And also, both of them use different technologies as well. The 5T is an AMOLED display. The HTC uses LCD. I know the argument for AMOLED is that the colors are punchier, and that may be true, but for me, I feel like it's just oversaturated, and personally, I prefer the LCD screen on the U11. So display quality goes to the U11. Moving on now to the fingerprint scanners. Both of these phones have really good scanners on their devices. They're both in different places. On the 5T, you'll find it on the back of the device, whereas on the U11, it is at the front, down at the bottom. Now, in terms of placement, I do prefer back fingerprint sensors more than at the front. For me, it's easier. Your finger just naturally goes there when you're holding the phone, whereas with the front fingerprint sensors, you kind of have to change the position of how you hold the device in order to get to it, especially if you have very small hands like me. So I always prefer it on the back. So just for placement, I would give that one to the 5T. In terms of how they work, they're both very fast. It looks like the 5T might be just slightly faster there. But yeah, they both work great, very accurate. I did mention in my full review of the 5T that I do get more errors on the fingerprint sensor than I do with other phones, and that's still true. Again, I don't know, again, if it's because I didn't scan my finger correctly when I was doing the initial setup, but that has been my experience with this phone. Although right now, oh, it did actually give me a hiccup there, another error. But yeah, that's just been my experience. When it works very fast. So, you know, and I don't know how many other people have experienced that. It could just be me, who knows. But in terms of accuracy, I do give the edge to the HTC. That being said, the 5T also has face unlock, which is very, very fast. So I can just power it on, look at the device, and it automatically just pops up so fast. Turn it on, stare at it, just on, just like that. So I do like that added feature of it. The U11 does not have that, so it's just your fingerprint you can use to unlock it. Well, of course, in the pattern and pin as well. But no face unlock on the U11. And considering the price of the 5T, definitely cool that they included it on there. Okay, so moving on to software. I will say that the software on both phones, I would call it a tie, because there isn't any software that I prefer to use more than the other. The HTC U11 does come with Sense UI, whereas the OnePlus 5T does use Oxygen OS. Now, both of those are very minimal overall. You're not going to get anything like bloatware on these devices. So they're very clean. If you're a fan of, say, stock Android, there's no reason why you shouldn't like either one of these devices. They're also both very smooth and fluid. I myself haven't experienced any kind of hiccup or lag on either one of these devices. So again, a very clean experience overall. I will say that the OnePlus 5T does have some nice customization features on it, Oxygen OS. Okay, so case in point, if I open up my settings area, you can see I have it on the dark theme, and then I have my icon set up as all green. Green happens to be my favorite color. So that's really nice. You can do that by going to the display, click on the accent color, and you can choose any of these accent colors to set on your device. So I'm always a fan of customizations. It's always good. Everybody's different. Everybody likes different things, different colors. You can also see up top here by the battery icon that I have it set to like a circle. Right there. Okay, I was waiting for my camera to focus. Yeah, so you can set your icon to a circle, or you can keep it as the standard icon or standard battery icon there. So again, it's a small thing to have, not really something that will make or break a device if it doesn't have it, but I'm always a fan of customization, so +1 to OnePlus 5T for that. But again, overall, both phones really well. On the U11 side, it does have blink feed that I do like. Some people might not like it so much, and if you don't like it, you have the ability to turn it off. So again, it's not really in your face. You can use it or you could not use it. I like having it. I get my news from here. So benefits to both of these for sure. And again, there isn't one that I prefer to use more than the other. So this is a complete tie for me. Both phones do also have added features baked into their software. So with the U11, one of my favorite features is called Edge Sense, and that's the ability to squeeze the sides of the phone to launch different actions. So for example, to launch the camera, all I got to do is squeeze the phone, and there it is. And if I want to take a photo, all I got to do is squeeze the phone again, and it snaps a picture. You can set it to any action that you want. You can do a short squeeze or a long squeeze. So I have it set up to a long squeeze will open my my flashlight, sorry. Yeah, so I really like Edge Sense. Some people think it's a gimmick. For me, it's really useful. It's really quick to just turn on the camera. It's really quick to just turn on the flashlight. I don't know why I keep saying camera. Really quick to turn on the flashlight, really quick to turn on the camera. And you can set it to anything else. If you wanted to launch the Google Assistant, if you wanted to launch Alexa, which this phone also has Alexa, and there it goes. You can do that as well. So you can set it to any task or most tasks that you want. So it's a feature I really like on it. The OnePlus 5T does have gestures that you can set up as well to make use, more to your benefit, easier. Like for example, I have it set up for 3 fingers to take a screenshot. Oops, try that again. So just swipe down 3 fingers. Why am I messing up? Okay, there we go. Swipe down 3 fingers and you can take a screenshot. There's also other gestures on board here as well that you can set up. You can draw a pattern right here. Let me go with gestures. Okay, so you can do flip to mute, swipe down the notifications on the fingerprint sensor, swipe down the notification tray like that. And then you can use these to draw. So if you have it set up, I don't really use this at all. So you can set it up where at your lock screen. Okay, if you draw something, I have that set up to, calculator. Okay, so your calculator automatically comes up with that. So those little gestures do help as well with the user experience. Some of them I use more than others, but both phones do have these pretty unique things included in them. For the audio experience, I would definitely give the edge to the U11 here. I think you do get much fuller and richer sound off of this phone. Okay, starting off with the external speakers, you do have a speaker up top and a speaker down below. So it does use the double speaker setup, which is really great for having nice, rich, clear sound. Whereas on the 5T, you just have that single bottom firing speaker. And I really hate its location on this side because I cover it every single time I hold my phone this way. I cover the speaker. So I wish that they moved it over to this side. Okay. Yeah, so sound definitely much better on the HTC, in my opinion. That being said, in terms of the audio quality when you're using headphones, first of all, the OnePlus 5T has a headphone jack. So for everyone out there who just loves the headphone jack and can't do without it, you're automatically going to prefer the 5T over the HTC. For myself, HTC, it does use Type-C to connect headphones, and they do have their ViewSonic headphones that's included in the box, which I really like, and they're pretty fantastic headphones, better than most other headphones that are included with the device. Using the headphones, again, I do prefer the HTC. I think the sound coming off of them is better. They do have active noise cancellation. And overall, the audio quality is just better on this device. Okay, if you can live without that headphone jack, it hasn't been that bad for me of a transition to go without it. I do think the audio quality is much better. Included with the HTC as well is the adapter. So you do have a 3.5 millimeter headphone jack adapter that you can have, and so if you have the headphones that you really want to use, you can go ahead and add the adapter and be able to use it that way. For me, I keep my adapter in my car. It's attached to my auxiliary cord. Okay, and when I plug my HTC into my car, the sound coming from my car speakers are still a lot better than when I plug in my 5T into the car. Okay, because the dongle that comes with the HTC does have the DAC in it, so sound is much better. Overall, in every case, I would give the audio department to the HTC over the OnePlus 5T. And again, that's because I really don't care about the headphone jack. It hasn't been that big of a problem for me. I know for some of you, you really want to see a headphone jack on a phone, so that's something you're going to have to consider. Okay, so the next area in which I'm going to talk about is the camera performance on these phones. So flipping it over to the back, you can see that the OnePlus 5T uses the dual camera setup. So they have got a 16 megapixel main camera with a 20 megapixel camera, which is supposed to work better for low light photos. Over on the U11, we have a single camera, which is 12 megapixels. Okay, now the U11 does have optical image stabilization, whereas the 5T does not. Now, this is an important point for me to make with the cameras here, because overall, I will say overall, I much prefer the camera quality, the picture quality coming from the U11. I think it's definitely a win over the 5T. Now, what bugs me is that a lot of people are making a big deal over dual cameras, to the point where they're saying that flagships need to have dual cameras. And for me, that's completely false. What I need on my phone is to have a good camera. I don't care which way you decide to go about doing that, you just need to have a good camera. Okay, you have a phone like the U11 that has a single camera, and it's a great camera phone. You have a phone like the Pixel 2 and Pixel 2 XL, also has a single camera, and it's probably the best camera phone that's available right now. But people like to make a big deal and say that, you know, we gotta have the dual camera setup on flagship devices. And like I said, it's neither here nor there with me, as long as it's a good camera. If you decide to use dual cameras, fine. If you decide to use single camera, fine. As long as the image quality coming out of it is good. Case in point is this rivalry right here. OnePlus 5T goes with the modern dual camera setup, and yet the quality is just not as good as what I get out of the HTC and its single camera. So I'm tired of seeing people criticize not just the U11, but other phones with single cameras, you know, talking about how they need dual cameras. No, what you need is a good camera. Whether you go about it by having a single camera shooter or a dual camera, I don't care, just make it good. Now, that was my rant, guys. That being said, the OnePlus 5T has a good camera. It's not a bad camera by any means. I do like the photos that come out of it. It's just that the U11 edges it out, especially in low light photos. I think that the U11 really excels there. You get more light coming in, especially in the darker, shadowy areas off of the U11, than you would on the 5T. So overall, yes, the win goes to, in my opinion, the win goes to the U11, and I do have some camera samples to show you guys. Okay, so that was just a few sample photos for you guys. So you guys let me know in the comments which one you think actually came out better. Again, for me, it's the U11, but you might disagree with me, and you're more than welcome to do so. Let me know in the comments. One thing to mention, though, is the OnePlus 5T does have added portrait mode onto theirs. With the rear camera, they do have portrait mode. Which, if you're shooting a subject, will make the subject come out nice and clear, whereas the background is blurred, so a nice bokeh effect. Not as good of a portrait mode, of course, as you will find on more expensive phones like the iPhone 10 or the Pixel 2, but still nice that they included that as well. So portrait mode found on the 5T, no portrait mode on the U11. Flipping it over to the front, both of them have 8 megapixel selfie cameras, and both of them perform well to me. I really don't have any complaints on the selfie camera for either one of these phones. Again, probably the edge will go to the HTC, but to be honest, I haven't taken that many selfies with the 5T, so it's not fair for me to really judge this one. But yeah, camera, HTC for me. Battery life is another big issue with cell phones. I would say that camera and battery life are probably the things people look at most when they're comparing phones. So in terms of battery life, this time the edge goes to the OnePlus 5T. Now the 5T does have a 33 milliamp hour battery. The HTC is a little bit smaller with a 3000 milliamp hour battery. And the HTC, I get good battery life, certainly. It's just a little less consistent. Like I can get sometimes 4.5 hours of screen on time. Sometimes I can get up to like 6 hours of screen on time. And it just varies based on how I use it. But it varies a lot more with my U11 than it does on my 5T. With the 5T, I pretty much consistently am always hitting that 6-hour mark of screen on time with this phone. I think it's optimized very well to conserve battery. Maybe it has to do with that 1080p screen versus the QHD screen. I don't know. But it does, for me, the battery lasts longer and more consistently on the 5T than it does on the U11. Also, in terms of charging time, the HTC U11 does have quick charge, and the OnePlus 5T utilizes its own dash charging. And dash charging is amazing. It really, you can plug it in 15-20 minutes and it'll give you a full day's worth of use. So if you're in a rush, you need to get out the house, you need to take a quick shower, but your phone is on its last legs, you just want to plug it in, then this phone is just amazing for that. Quick charge here is good as well, but charging time, this is the fastest I've seen on the 5T. This is the fastest I've seen out of any phone. Probably my favorite feature of the 5T is its battery life and the dash charge that comes with it. So that is a huge plus for me, personally. Again, not knocking the U11, it does have good battery life, especially considering it's only a 3000 milliamp hour battery. You know, there was some concern about whether it'd be good. I do like it. It hasn't really slowed down much for me. I've been using this phone since it came out, maybe around June last year. And I haven't really noticed much change in the battery life in terms of its performance going down. So I am impressed with that. But yeah, overall, this one goes to the OnePlus 5T. All right, so the last thing I'm going to cover with these phones are the prices. So for the OnePlus 5T, you could pick up this device, the base model, which is 64 gigs, for $499. And this particular model, this one has 128 gigs of storage and 8 gigs of RAM. This one will put you back about $560. So stellar price. Where else are you going to find a 128 gigabyte phone for $560? The U11 will go for around $649. And HTC is good about putting on sales. I got my phone for $599. And I know either it was just last week or maybe 2 weeks ago, they actually had it for $100 off. So they were selling it for $549. So both of them way undercut other flagship phones. And both of them are amazing values for what you get. So I love the prices on both. Even the U11 at $649 I think is completely worth it. I have no complaints whatsoever about it. You do get a little bit more, I think, with the U11 that justifies the $100 price difference between this phone and this phone. So yeah, but the price way undercuts others on both these devices. It's a win-win no matter which one you choose. And yeah, that's about what I have to say about that. So which phone is my favorite? Which phone would I choose? Okay, obviously I like both devices, but if you're gonna make me pick one, I'm going to pick the HTC right here. And again, the reasons for that are, I think the screen is just a little bit better. I think the audio is better. I think the camera is better. And what you get here, this is 64 gigs, this is 128 gigs. However, this one has expandable storage. So I can go ahead and pop in a micro SD card up to 256 gigs and increase the storage here. The 5T has no expandable storage. So while 128 gigs, you know, is probably enough for most people, I would say, you know, that you do have to consider that limitation, is that that's it. That's where it's capped off at. Okay, there's no expanding it at all. And also I forgot to mention that the U11 does have water resistance, IP67 water resistance, whereas the OnePlus 5T does not. So again, I think there's just a little bit more on the U11 that does justify the price being a little bit higher than the 5T. And overall, for me, I would definitely go with the U11. Now, like I said, I do like the 5T. Not going to knock it too much. I think anybody would be happy with this phone. But there, that's what you have it. So that's what my thoughts are on these two devices. Of course, I would love to hear from you guys. Let me know what you think in the comments. Which phone is your preference? Have you used both? Did you pick one over the other? What do you think? And let me know. And as always, hit that subscribe button if you haven't done so already, so you can keep up with all my videos. And take care. I'll see you in the next one.